With another brand new live edition of Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. And we come to you live on this Monday morning from Bill Penny Toyota right along University Drive. Feels good to be back out here at the service department. The doors are open. They're ready to get your car serviced Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and then on Saturday they are open 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. out here at Bill Penny Toyota. Also, while you're out here today, make sure you stop by. We're right here at the service department. You need to register to win the Bob Baumhauer's Lunch Bunch. That'll be drawn on Thursday when the guys from the Drive are live from Baumhauer's. You can register today while we are here at Bill Penny Toyota. All you got to do is stop by, put your name in the box, and you can win on Thursday, and then you'll be eligible to win Bob's tickets to the LSU game. So make sure you stop on out here at Baumhauer's today. Take advantage of that on this Monday. 256-576-4977. If you want to get in on the show today, feel free to do so. We have got a lot of stuff to get to. Got to recap what it was a busy and wild weekend in college football. We have some NFL football from yesterday. Got all kinds of stuff, Drew. But if you need to get motivated on a Monday, this just might help.
Snap to Cooper. Looking down the field. He's got a man. Caught it. He's free. Phil Johnson at the 10. At the 5. Touchdown! 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 There are no flags. Touchdown pass on the final snap of the game. Jacksonville State has won it.
If you need a little Monday motivation, that just might help. Mike Paris with the call of the year so far in college football.
Man, I mean, all I can say is I don't get ACC Network. It's one of the few sports channels I don't get, and I was frantically trying to find it because that ending happened really late on Saturday night because of the time of the game in Tallahassee. And so I started seeing posts on social media and things, like Twitter and that ilk, and oh my goodness, Jacksonville State. And I knew they were playing at Florida State. We had kind of mentioned it, but I'll be free to admit that I had not seen how the game was going, and I knew that it had. Matter of fact, I thought it had already been played. I was trying to keep up with scores and results, and then all of a sudden you see, oh my goodness, what just happened? And I tried. I immediately Googled and found the Jacksonville Gamecocks Football Radio Network just to listen to some of the post game, which was chaotic as you could expect. But just wanted to listen and see what had happened. And I listened to the call from the ACC Network in West Durham, and then also to Mike Paris, who's going to join us, later in the show in the second hour. But what an ending and what a win! And again, this is not the first time Jacksonville State has done this. They did it several years ago against the Ole Miss Rebels, and when Houston Nutt was coaching them, and upset Ole Miss on the road. But this is gargantuan just simply because Florida State had nearly beaten Notre Dame the week before. They had been a national story, even though they didn't win the game.
Well, you thought Mike Norvell had turned that corner, that they were trending upward, a loss was kind of a win because they had filled the stadium. They put people in believers. Yes, they did all that stuff, and then Jacksonville State comes in and puts out that flame rather quickly.
That's an understatement. But I'll be safe to say it's the first FCS opponent to ever beat Florida State since in the mid '70s when they went into these divisions. And so to me, it's the biggest win in Jacksonville State history in a lot of ways. I know they've won national championships, but beating a program with the history of a Florida State who's won 3 national titles and won one as lately as 2013, and yet Jacksonville State goes in there and beats them. I mean, especially considering I know John Gross wasn't satisfied with that second half against UAB. They were in the game at halftime against UAB. I think they were down a touchdown, but they didn't play very well in the second half. So to turn around and win in Tallahassee is just gargantuan for Jacksonville State, and it's huge for the state of Alabama as well. It's such a huge credit to Jacksonville State for not giving up, because they were down 17-7 late in the game, and I believe they scored their last two possessions. So to do that and to pull it out and to win it in that fashion, on that 59-yard touchdown, I mean, it was just a stunner. But it was just unbelievable, and you congratulate Greg Seitz and the athletic director at Jacksonville State. You congratulate John Gross, who's always been great to us, and Mike Parrish. The great thing is Mike Parrish has been doing this so long. He called both those upsets, and so it's just unbelievable for Jacksonville State and great for the state of Alabama. But if you're a Florida State fan right now, it's like you thought you saw some light at the end of the tunnel, but it ended up being a train.
Yep.
And it's, as you just said, that snuffs out all the goodwill for Notre Dame. And then Notre Dame barely survives against Toledo.
Yeah,
so now it's like, how good is Notre Dame? And, I'm like, overrated.
NBC made people pay $4.99 for that to people to have to watch Notre Dame struggle against Toledo.
That's as they were losing late in the fourth quarter, I was like, $4.99. At least they're getting their money's worth. Good grief.
Oh, anyway, what a weekend it was in the SEC. Alabama prevails. Auburn prevails. We'll talk more about that. Arkansas prevails. But here's the thing. Arkansas's win over Texas is going to get a lot of attention. And tell me I'm wrong. I could be wrong. But the way that Mississippi State beat NC State, the way that Kentucky beat Missouri, would that be more impressive than what Arkansas did? I mean, what Arkansas did against Texas is going to get a lot of attention. But I thought the way that Mississippi State and Kentucky played was more impressive.
Well, I think that I slightly disagree. I think that Kentucky, I picked them to win, so that didn't surprise me at all. I thought Arkansas, the way they beat Texas, I would have taken Arkansas in the game in a close game, but they beat them down severely and rushed for over 300 yards. I would say it's a tie. I would say Arkansas and then what Mississippi State did, because Mississippi State was very lucky to escape against Louisiana Tech, and yet I picked NC State. NC State was a 2.5, 3-point favorite. I thought they would beat the Bulldogs, and that 100-yard kickoff return on the first play of the game, and then their defense just suffocated NC State. I would rank the Arkansas win and what Mississippi State did. Those are the two best premium performances of the weekend, because I think NC State's probably a pretty good football team, though I will say they beat South Florida, who is not very good, in the first game. And if you're an ACC fan, you better thank the Lord for Pitt, because Pitt did at least get the win over Tennessee, but it was another terrible weekend for the ACC. I know Clemson won, but they played South Carolina State. But Florida State dropping that game to Jacksonville State is just a crusher. And then Miami.
Well, considering what the ACC did last week or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. And then Miami having to barely survive against Appalachian State. They almost let Alabama beat them twice. That's just, you've got to be, if you're the ACC commissioner, it's not good right now. It doesn't look like there's a lot of good football in the ACC. So, but again, I'd say kudos to Mississippi State for playing a lot better football in the second week and getting a big win at home. But I don't think you can quantify how big it is for Arkansas, because they looked improved last year, but still went, I believe it was 3-7 overall. That's what the Hogs ended up. They ended up with just a decent record, and it wasn't anything great. And you got to remember Mississippi State as well. They only won 2 games, I believe. So they in the regular season, and even though they got a bowl bid because everything was so chaotic and crazy. So it was 2 tough regular seasons for Arkansas and Mississippi State. And I guess what I thought it was, I know that that LSU fell to Mike Leach early last year, but I still think when you put everything in context, this was the biggest win for both of those guys since they took their prospective jobs. You've seen progress out of Mississippi State now, beating a team like NC State at home, and then Arkansas. And then look at the scene. The fans are just off the wall. It was a great crowd, an intense environment, and they rushed the field. And because Texas that rivalry means so much with the historic stuff from the Southwest Conference, and now they're coming back to the SEC. And if you're a Texas fan, you got a ways to go, man.
Yeah, they do.
That's what you realize.
All right, Alabama, a 48-14 win over Mercer. After the game, Nick Saban delivering another message to his team.
Decisions that players make. You know, they make a decision to throw their helmet. All right, they make a decision to grab and throw another guy on the ground, whether it's controlling your emotions. All right, because when you're emotional, you make bad decisions. All right, so you got to play with intensity, but not out of control. And we got to make better choices and decisions. Just, you know, your question would be like somebody asking me, how are you going to get this guy to quit swinging at balls over his head in baseball? It's a bad decision. It's a bad choice. You can tell them, you can show them, you can tell them, you can show them, and eventually you place somebody else in their place, because they're not dependable. You know, it's accountability. I have a job to do. You know, I told the story today. You know, maybe we need more of this. You know, when I was growing up, I worked for my dad. All right, so every day at dinner, he would do that to the table. And there was a reckoning for everything that you were supposed to do that day. So if you were supposed to cut the grass, did you sweep the walk? Did you trim? Did you put the mower away? Did you clean the mower? And if you didn't do any of those things right, you're going to do it again. We might need a little of that somewhere along the line.
Nick Saban a little ornery after that win over Mercer, and rightfully so. I watched a little bit of that game, and call it a Miami hangover, call it what you want, but it wasn't a clean performance from Alabama Saturday.
Well, it goes back to that old adage they've had for years in football: you play like you practice. And Coach Saban was ornery all week about the focus in practice and having the hang dogs and it's too hot. It's, you know, why are we doing this? And, you know, I need to save my effort for the game on Saturday. They just didn't play very well. Now, I would say that mostly was offensively. I thought defensively they were locked in until they got that huge lead. And then they had a couple of miscommunications in the secondary. One was Jordan Battle with a miscommunication with Coach Saban, and then they were talking it out afterwards. And then, of course, my favorite player, Daniel Wright, was in with the backups and went the wrong way, didn't help out Kool-Aid McKinstry. He's only a senior who's played I don't know how many games, Scott, and he still doesn't know where to go half the time. But, I mean, it wouldn't be a football game at Alabama if Daniel Wright's in the game and he doesn't make a mental error. So he helped to give up a touchdown pass as well. So that's concerning, but I thought, you know, the special teams, they did miss a field goal. It just wasn't a great performance. But I will say, if you watch Nick Saban's football teams, when they have these high-profile openers, they usually play really well in those. And then there's just a tendency to be flat the next week. Now, maybe not as flat as they seem to be against Mercer because, I mean, they gave the sack the first possession, and you saw how good offensively they looked against Miami. And
right out of the gates. Yeah, they struggled against Mercer out of the gates.
First quarter was just not good. They weren't catching. They weren't blocking. They weren't – I mean, the running game wasn't what you thought it needed to be. They just need a total reset and to refocus. There's no doubt in my mind. Now, they still should have scored 51 points if they don't miss that field goal. And I picked 52. I picked 52-3. So – but they just did not play very well, and so they've got some things to work on. There's no question about that. And the only other unfortunate thing was an injury to Will Anderson. But unlike the Chris Allen situation, this is not severe. They smartly took him out of that game, and from what I'm hearing, it's a knee hyperextension, and things are looking very promising early in the week for him to play. Now, we have to get to the end of the week, but I do think the chances are very good that he'll be in the lineup against Florida.
All right, let's get out to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Jeff from the Borough with us on a Monday. Good morning, Jeff.
How you doing, guys?
Doing good, Jeff. A good win for UK, man. It's about what I figured. It's about a 7-point win.
Well, it should have been worse, but, you know, they made a few mistakes. But when it came down to it, they made the plays they need to make, you know. But we're going to line up, run the football. We don't need to throw it all over the place. 341 rushing. Like Chris Dorn says, when you line up and the defense knows you're going to run it and you still can't stop it. That's the bottom line. So we got a big blue wall for a reason. We're going to line up. We're going to give the tail back. We're going to run the darn thing. We're going to keep running it until you stop it. As simple as that. We threw it around a little bit, and Wandale Robinson, I guess he wants to go back to Lincoln now, don't he? Huh? Does he want to go back to Nebraska? Heck no, we don't. He's Wandale Robinson. He's pretty good, isn't he? Pretty good ball player. Wasted 2 years
player.
Life over at Lincoln, didn't he? Wasted 2 years of life over at Lincoln, though. And Scott Frost, 14-21. Somebody, I listened to a show up there in Lexington Saturday night. Somebody said Scott Frost ought to be fired for not using Robinson away the first 2 years of his career. Okay? It's just, and when Kentucky fans are complaining about wins, our program's come up. As simple as that. Okay? And you guys win by 34 and screaming. What's the deal? I mean, get ready for Florida is all I can say. Don't even worry about Mercer. Don't worry about that mess. I won't even worry about Mercer. Put that in the can. It's like the old coach said, put that in the can, put it on the shelf. Don't make no difference. Don't make no never mind. And as far as the 1AA teams, that's 8 of them now. Let's beat bigger schools. Duquesne beat Ohio this weekend, 28-26. Florida State's in the past. Yeah, that's history. They're in the past. They're not a great football program no more. I mean, they're not. Period. ACC is a basketball league. Everybody knows it. They're not football. They're about basketball. You think Duke cares about football, Drew? No. North Carolina don't care about it either. They're a basketball school. They're not. If they win, fine. If they don't, fine. If Duke wins, fine. Don't, fine. We're just a junior college trying to get better. We got UT Chat this weekend, and we ain't got no letdown. We just go out there and get a big lead and play a lot of people. And then we got South Carolina the next week. So hopefully we'll be 4-0 after those two. And and then we got Florida. So what about South Carolina, guys? They're better to squeeze by too. You didn't mention that. Getting a field goal at the buzzer. So talking about the ACC bashing, he talked about SEC a little bit. And also, Trevor Lawrence found out he ain't in the ACC no more. This is National Football League. When you throw 3 interceptions, the Texans, Tyrod Taylor looked pretty good yesterday, didn't he? They're 1-0. They're first place in the AFC South. So y'all hang in there. And Brandon, how's Great Grandma's TV doing? Y'all hang in there. Have a good day.
Well, we hadn't had a chance to get through the rest of the SEC because we chose to take Jeff's phone call. But anyway,
and our ears are bleeding. But anyway, I mean, Kentucky did have a good win. Probably, he's right. They had a chance to have a 28-7 lead, and they let Missouri back in the game. But they were able to close it out, which is big for Kentucky. And Wandale has had 2 great performances in a row. And Levis did not put up eye-popping stats, but he was 10 of 18 for 179 and a touchdown. And so if they can throw it just well enough, because in the last couple of years they haven't been able to throw it nearly at all. Right. So I think they've looked improved. He's right. They're going to name their score against Chattanooga. We'll see about South Carolina, because South Carolina was down 14-0, and then they came back on the road to win 20-17 against a decent Eastern Carolina team. So I still think Carolina's got a ways to go. But hey, before but
Chattanooga though, before we say Kentucky's going to name their score, Chattanooga is ranked inside the top 25 in FBS. So, I mean, they're going to come in and they'll probably play well for a quarter or whatever. They're going to give Kentucky a test
better be
early.
Ready to play.
Yeah, they're ranked. UNA just got drilled by. I feel bad for Chris Willis. They had a tough time this past weekend with Chattanooga. Did UNA, but they come in nationally ranked. So Kentucky's going to have to not take Chattanooga lightly,
right?
But they're going to have to play, and they're going to play well. They should win the game, but they're going to have to play well. All right, it is 7:21. Let's get a break in, because when we come back, we need to dissect this Alabama 48-14 win over Mercer a little bit more with our good buddy Travis Reier.
Yeah, first appearance for Travis in a while, first of this football season, but the senior analyst for BamaOnline.com is set to join us next.
You're listening to Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Good morning from the traffic center. Got a report of a stalled vehicle causing problems, 72 eastbound at Dawson's Terrace. We got reports of fog this morning, but other than that, we're event-free for the morning. You be careful dealing with a heavy traffic load already. Are you tired of the mask and hose? If you snore or have sleep apnea, Dr. Sandman has an easy-to-use Somnodent oral device. It's easy to clean and it's insurance approved. 350-CARE or RandallSandlin.com. Captain Nick in the North Parkway Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
Sitting here with Ann Adams of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Rise Real Estate. Is it a good time to sell your home, Ann? Yes, it is. We have people relocating from all over the country.
Why should we choose Rise Real Estate?
Well, we've been selling real estate in North Alabama for 36 years and have sold more real estate than any other real estate company, period.
Do you help your customers through the entire process?
Yes, our agents are with you during the whole process from start to finish, from beginning to end.
In your relocation services, you have a whole team.
Yes, we have a dedicated relocation department helping customers move seamlessly into the area.
Ann Adams has been writing contracts for the last 36 years. She has the experience to help you list and sell your home, downsize your home, or help pick the perfect spot north of Alabama for you to build a future.
Call Ann Adams at 256-337-2625 or on the web at www.bhhsriserealestate.com.
Maybe the air doesn't blow like it should, or it's needing new tires, or you're just ready for something newer. It's time to move up, time to trade up. Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, and it's the perfect time to trade in and trade up because your current car or truck is worth more than you know. In fact, we'll buy your vehicle even if you don't trade. We have nearly 100 Ford Blue Advantage certified pre-owned models to choose from. Our Ford Gold certified or low mileage, gently used vehicles with great warranties. They've passed a 172-point inspection by certified technicians, come with a 24-hour roadside assistance, plus a full tank of gas and a fresh oil change. It's the perfect time to trade in and trade up because your vehicle is worth more right now at Woody Anderson Ford. Corner of Jordan Lane and Sparkman Drive. Hope to see you soon.
Everybody knows the fun begins when you get to the end zone, where you can enjoy half-price apps every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, half-price burgers every Tuesday, plus late-night pizza specials and a spectacular menu that includes jumbo wings, half-pound burgers, Tex-Mex, and an incredible selection of craft beer, and plenty of big-screen TVs. It's all happening at the end zone, 1851 University Drive, 2030 Cecil Ashburn at Jones Valley Station, and coming in early 2022, Mid-City End Zone at 1115 McMurtry next to the Target Shopping Center.
This is Wes Neighbors talking to Chris Haygood of Bob Wallace Appliance. Chris, what sets you apart from other appliance dealerships?
Wes, these appliances are going into the most used room in your house, your kitchen. The way we have these appliances displayed, it's easy for you to visualize how they'll look in your home. Wes, what sets us apart is the people. They're well trained. In fact, they live and breathe these appliances. And if you need service, you'll really appreciate our parts department.
Contact Bob Wallace Appliance at 256-533-2121.
We know it's lonely at the top, but we don't mind.
National championship number 18. 13 in all. Absolute perfection.
Roll Tide. Join us Saturday as the Crimson Tide heads south to battle the Florida Gators in the SEC opener. Our coverage begins at 11:30 on your home for Bama football.
Listen to Alabama football all season long on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
From the WZDX Pinpoint Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Emily Owen. For this Monday, expect a partly cloudy sky. High temperatures will be topping out in the mid to upper 80s for the afternoon. A few of us could catch a few isolated showers. Otherwise, we'll be remaining dry. For your Monday night, expect a partly cloudy sky. Low temperatures falling into the upper 60s. I'm meteorologist Emily Owen on your home for ESPN Radio 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Listen to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. Weekday afternoons starting at 5 on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Steve Moulton from The Drive. Join us this afternoon from 5 to 7 with Wes Neighbors and me. Now back to Talkin Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
And welcome back to Talking Ball, 7:26 on a Monday morning. Alabama 48-14 winners over Mercer on Saturday. Of course, everybody looking forward to Alabama's SEC opener as they travel to Gainesville on Saturday. The Tide opening up as an early 15-point favorite against Florida. We'll dissect the Gators a little bit later in the week because they got a quarterback controversy maybe, and we'll talk about all that as the week goes along. But as for Alabama goes, You left feeling after the Miami game that this team was headed in the right direction. You still think that they're headed in the right direction, but just like I think everybody else in college football, Drew, Alabama does have a few question marks that they do need to look at. They're not 100% there because it is only week 2, but they head to Gainesville with a few question marks and a few questions answered at the same time.
Well, yeah, they're still, if it's the old adage, you either get better or you get worse, and I'm not sure that Alabama got better in the second game, and I think that was Nick Saban's message, to his football team after the game on Saturday inside Bryant-Denny Stadium. But our next guest is with us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline for many, many years, over a decade. Since 2003, he's been with BamaOnline.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. He still continues to do a podcast for Bama Online, and he also does the Talkin Tide daily podcast. And we always enjoy catching up with our good friend Travis Reier each Monday on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Travis, welcome back, man. Hope you've had a good football off season. It's great to have you back. You're with Drew and Scott. How are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
We are good. We're really good. Thank you for joining us. And you always have, some players to watch and some situations game wise that you write about on Bama Online that you have fans watching for in each week when Alabama takes the field. Kind of talk about what your expectations were against Mercer, and then what we actually saw on the field on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of anticipated a keep it simple approach offensively, not going to be too elaborate, not with Florida coming up next week. I think it was pretty much the way it played out. You go back and you watch the game again, you don't see a lot of the orbit motion and sort of pre-snap stuff that you've seen from the Alabama offense in recent years. Just pretty much line up, run-based plays, and try to get out of there and stay healthy. And you said it. Nick Saban obviously wasn't happy throughout the practice week with his team's focus. I think in some areas that certainly showed up on Saturday. You wanted to play clean, and you weren't able to do that. 9 penalties in the game, 6 in the first half. And, again, sort of reaffirming what you heard from Nick Saban midweek last week. So he's got documented evidence to now show his players what he was talking about if they didn't really believe him throughout the week. That said, again, you're just trying to get through this game and maintain relatively good health. And defensively, it's a tough spot for a matchup with an offense like Mercer's. I think Alabama just took the approach that with this academy-style offense from Mercer, we're going to get in our base defense and try to keep it simple and condensed and let guys play. And I think they were able to do that. The back end, obviously, in the second half, a couple of major busts that led to a couple of touchdown passes. But, again, maybe 3 or 4 coverages and, the base defense in play largely. And obviously the big story coming out of the game is the injury to Will Anderson. So you didn't check that box from a health perspective, and that's most important going into this week.
The execution of the offense early, I think, what caught a lot of Alabama fans off guard a little bit, because they come out against Miami, and as you mentioned, they maybe have dulled it down a little bit on Saturday, but the execution overall early on, especially from the offensive line, I think is what kind of caught some Alabama fans off guard.
Yeah, you had Chris Owens get beat on a third down play on the opening series and give up a sack there at Bryce Young, and then a drop from Jamison Williams, who then sort of compounds the mistake by getting flagged for a personal foul that put him behind the chains on the second possession. So definitely not the start they were looking for offensively. The kicking game came up big for them and getting them that spark with the block punt by Chris Braswell and Jace McClellan with the scoop and score. And, defensively, again, I thought the game, the front seven played at a pretty high level. So they were able to kind of have their way on that side of the ball. But, after having that fast start against Miami and sort of leaving you with this perception of, the pieces changed, but the results remain the same, they came back to earth a little bit there on those first couple of possessions offensively.
And Travis, I think Darian Dalcourt has played well in his first 2 games at center. at Alabama after he won that job in fall camp. Chris Owens, you just talked about the sack he gave up early. We saw Damian George come in, and as you pointed out rightly in your piece on Bama Online, he came in after Owens lost his helmet and came in for a few snaps. But overall, how did you think Chris Owens and the offensive line played? And should there be concern about right tackle? I've thought the whole time that they wanted the experience of Owens out there and that we would see him in the lineup in Gainesville. I still believe that. But is it a situation where you think that's an ongoing competition, or has Owens cemented the right tackle spot so far?
Yeah, I tend to agree with your assessment there that not sure you want to break in a new right tackle on the road this week against a Florida team that is going to present some very legitimate edge guys. Now, Chris is obviously limited in some ways. But this is where you probably continue to lean on his experience for the time being. So I wouldn't anticipate a change this week or some shuffling of that offensive line. I do agree with you on Dalcourt. I think he's just getting better with each week, and as he gets more and more comfortable. And this will be a big week for him, too. I mean, going into a hostile event, we always talk about how the quarterback and crowd noise sort of plays into that. It makes it tough on centers, too. Got to make calls and checks. And so, how they go about that, how he handles that this week will be interesting to watch as well.
Bryce Young now makes, he so far has crossed off or has checked every box in his evolution of a quarterback. He gets that opening win against Miami, comes out Saturday. Now he has his first SEC road test. He does. And again, this is going to be a big challenge because you look at the secondary ticket market right now, and they're gonna have every seat filled for this one, obviously. And I think to get in right now for the secondary ticket market's around $200 a ticket. So big crowd, 90,000 at Florida Field on Saturday afternoon. And they're going to be roaring from the start. There's no doubt. And Bryce, though, from a makeup perspective, hasn't shown you anything else that there's perhaps a crack in the armor in that regard. So you anticipate him being the same calm, cool, collected guy that we saw, especially against Miami and even last week or against Mercer. I thought he was fine. I don't think there was ever a point where you picked up frustration from him. He finished Saturday's game by going 9 of 10 in his final 10 attempts, and the only incompletion he had in that stretch was a drop. So, he got better as the game moved along, which you wanted to see on Saturday. And absolutely, there's going to be a lot of eyes and interest in how he handles the situation in one of the toughest venues in all of college football to go against when you talk about opposing fan bases. And, I think it's going to have to be more of the total Bryce Young show in this one because Florida has upgraded in its front seven. Again, it has a couple of edge guys that can be problematic in the pass rush. Todd Grantham isn't afraid to bring pressure, as we've seen in the past. And so I think the full skill set will be on display for Bryce Young Saturday.
Yeah, and then Travis, and then talk about the Alabama secondary to switch sides of the ball. They were without three prominent members, both starting corners, Josh Jobe and Jalen Armour-Davis, and then Brian Branch, who is going to mean a lot to the secondary. None of those three guys played. We did see DeMarco Hellams for the first time. I thought for the most part the two young corners did a nice job, but talk about what we saw out of the secondary on Saturday, and then but they need to get those three guys back, though, against a Florida football team on the road.
Yes, they do. Florida has shown signs of life, especially with Anthony Richardson coming off the bench and producing big plays both with his legs and more so than Emory Jones through the air. And whereas Florida has a lot and has had to replace a lot at the skill position spots other than quarterback, you've seen Jacob Copeland have some big plays in the first couple of games, especially when Richardson's been in there. So, in some ways, I think it'll be a return to a comfort level for Alabama from a personnel perspective. They're just not used to playing a lot of base defense like they did against Mercer. So nickel actually gets more of their better players on the field, and especially when they go dime, because then you're talking about Malachi Moore and Brian Branch out there. So I think there's a comfort level with it now these days for teams like Alabama, and especially when you look at Alabama's sub-package personnel in the secondary, they feel just fine playing with those guys.
Mm-hmm. And then special teams-wise, we kind of saw the breakout for JoJo Earl. He also had 7 catches for 85 yards, so he's beginning to really push and get a role offensively. And then we saw 2 explosive punt returns. Saw a solid one out of Slade Bolden as well, and a touchdown catch for the redshirt junior. But JoJo Earl seems to be asserting himself.
Yeah, seems like they're ramping him up a little bit in this spot that made sense against Mercer, and to kind of ease him into a home game in that situation. You saw him early, though, at wide receiver against Miami, so that told you plenty in the opener as well. But, yeah, one of those guys that seems to have those special traits, and I think there's always a trust factor that comes into play when you talk about newcomers, not just on offense or defense, but definitely when you're considering them being back deep on punts, because there's more to it than just catching the punt. You've got to sort of direct traffic on different kind of kicks. You got to be able to communicate to your return personnel on short balls or things like that, and so making decisions where fair catches are concerned. But he looks very comfortable back there, no doubt.
Mm-hmm. Travis, the last time we saw Alabama-Florida, I think everybody remembers SEC championship game last year. Entertaining ball game, going back and forth. What do you anticipate seeing on Saturday from these two teams?
A couple of weeks ago, I was thinking there's no way this is going to be a game that comes anywhere close in terms of points to matching what we saw back in December. I mean, you're talking about 98 total points, and I still don't think they get close to that. But, I was even thinking somewhere sub 50 points total for these two teams in this one. After the last couple of weeks, there's reason to think they may surpass that, get up in the neighborhood of the mid-50s to the 60 area. But, I think for both teams, it starts with the quarterback position. And we talked about it. Bryce making his first true road start. Which direction or directions does Dan Mullen go throughout the course of the game on Saturday with Emory Jones and Richardson? Richardson looks like he's dealing with a bit of an injury, perhaps, maybe a hamstring after that USF game on Saturday. So, the injury headlines are going to be a big part of this thing starting today, and then moving throughout the week and figuring out exactly what availability is going to look like for a couple of key pieces for both these teams. So, I think there has a chance to be a few more points given the way both teams play. And, again, in seeing some of the replacements that Florida has put on the field for the guys that they had move on to the National Football League on offense, and we'll talk about all this with quarterbacks and skill players. I think if there is a big area of this game where Alabama has the decided edge, I would still go with its front seven. And I like Florida's front seven. Again, I think they have really talented guys on the edge. They've upgraded the interior via the transfer portal. Ventrell Miller, a really good inside linebacker. But I just think Alabama's at another level, perhaps, in that front seven, and especially if Will Anderson's able to go, and that to me could be as big as anything. When I say that, I'm talking about relative to the offensive line that the front seven will be going against. I know Alabama has concerns of its own on its offensive line right now. I'm just really not sold on this Florida offensive line to this point.
Yeah, and they had an injury at right tackle against USF, as you know, Travis. And so, what in your mind? I mean, I know we'll probably know and have a much better idea on Wednesday. But everything I was hearing yesterday sounded promising on Will Anderson. After you saw what happened on Saturday, and then those kind of injuries, what does your gut tell you on the sophomore?
Yeah, I didn't get the sense that it was, and typically if it is especially severe, even by this point, you may have already heard something from UA right in the aftermath. So no news has been good news from an official standpoint to this point, I would say. Of course, we're going to hear from Nick Saban coming up at noon today. But it's just also very hard to tell Deshaun Hand got hit with one of those against Ole Miss back in 2017. Now, I thought Deshaun's looked worse initially than Will Anderson's. It was pretty rough. And, he ended up with an MCL issue that cost him a couple of 3 games. So, again, this isn't to speculate based on, every guy being different, every injury being different. But the initial response, anyway, didn't seem to be especially worrisome. But, again, given his strengths as a player and understanding how twitchy he is, how powerful he is, any type of setback with a lower extremity can be problematic. And hopefully for Will, that's not going to be the case this week.
And then Travis, what are your thoughts? I think Alabama's going to play their best game of the year. After the mantra we heard from Nick Saban about a reckoning, I think I've got 38-17. I've got Alabama covering this game. I don't think it's I think they're a better football team than Miami, but I still don't think it's a great matchup up front for the Gators. How do you kind of see it playing out early in the week?
Yeah, I think points-wise we're in agreement. I think you've got it somewhere in the mid-50s. So I think total points, we're seeing the sort of same type of game. I'd probably go a little bit closer. I think that number is probably pretty much on it. You're not far off of it in terms of Alabama and the 15, but I think it could be that kind of game. I haven't really come up with a prediction yet, but I think Alabama somewhere in the 30s is sensible. Florida high teens, low 20s, somewhere in that neighborhood.
And then I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you real quick, last question, or an observation anyway. A great infomercial for Nick Saban and recruiting yesterday in the NFL, especially at the quarterback position. We had the Mac Tua matchup, which I thought was a well-played game, and then Jalen Hurts playing at a high level in week 1.
Yeah, it was fun. That was a lot of fun to watch. Both those guys are such great competitors, first and foremost, and it was nice to see Tua more in a system that is tailored to him. With the RPO game, with some tempo early, the beautiful opening drive for the Dolphins. Once they got off script, it slowed down a little bit, but I thought, he did a nice job. He had the one interception where he was trying to get the ball out of bounds there in the fourth quarter and just took a big hit and wasn't able to do it. And Mac was Mac. You marvel at his ability to process from the pocket and to do it at that level now with as quickly as things are happening around you. It's pretty amazing to watch this guy and the accuracy under duress and those things. I think Mac, even though it was a loss, and unfortunately for Damian Harris, it involved a fumble from him inside the red zone there late. I thought it was, affirmation that they're headed in the right direction with the right quarterback in New England.
Yeah, no question about it. Well, Travis, we appreciate it. It's always great to pick your brain and get your observations from Alabama football, even talk a little NFL with you. Let everybody know how they can connect with you over at BamaOnline.com.
Just go to BamaOnline.com or Alabama.247sports.com. Either way will get you to us.
All right. Well, Travis, thanks for the stuff. Travis Reier joining us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Coming to you live from Bill Penny Toyota. Let's get our break in. When we come back, and wrap up hour number 1.
You're listening to Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
It has not been a bad-looking ride in so far this morning. Had a stalled vehicle, 72 eastbound near Dawson's Terrace. That's really been our only problem. Had reports of fog across the valley. If you got a long way to go, that may be a problem for you this morning. Have you tried numerous weight loss plans? Nothing seems to work? Odds are your hormones are the problem. Find out with a free quiz at 2030huntsville.com. Captain Nick in the 72 and Jav Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
You want the right specialist for your recovery. At SportsMed Orthopedic Surgery and Spine Center, we understand every body is different. Your muscles and bones are unique, as is your body. Our SportsMed specialists offer innovative treatments and minimally invasive procedures, allowing you to quickly return to the life you love. Locations in Huntsville, Madison, Athens, and Decatur, and on the web at sportsmedalabama.com. Improving performance, improving lives. Nothing beats a great burger to celebrate Labor Day weekend. And at Bad Daddy's Burger Bar, we couldn't agree more. And if you haven't tried our chef-inspired expressions of pure burger amazingness, then head on down and try one of Bad Daddy's award-winning burgers now. Our delicious burgers are made with premium Angus beef, and you can pair it with one of our signature cocktails or a cold craft beer. Celebrate Labor Day weekend and let us do the cooking with a trip to Bad Daddy's Burger Bar on the Parkway between Bob Wallace and Governors.
Hi, this is Wes Neighbors. I'm here with Sam Fleming with Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Sam, tell the folks about Fleming Roofing and Restoration.
Hey Wes, our company Fleming Roofing and Restoration specializes in commercial and residential roofing and repairs. I'm a fifth-generation Huntsvillian, and our family's been doing construction business in Huntsville area since 1965.
Sam, what kind of roofs does Fleming Roofing and Restoration do?
Our guys are skilled enough. We can come out and address any kind of leaks or issues you might have on your commercial, on your metal roofing, on your shingles. We can do anything, and we can offer you a solution to repair it, or we can replace it.
Well, you guys also do insurance restoration.
Our staff has 10-plus years of experience as insurance adjusters, and we really do know the inside and out of the claims process at Fleming Roofing and Restoration.
Check out Fleming Roofing and Restoration online at FlemingHSV.com, or you can call or text them at 256-651-9440.
Hey Wes, we show up.
In today's real estate market, you need the right professionals to help make sure your home purchase is smooth and hassle-free. That's where Jacob Title comes in. Stan McDonald and the staff at Jacob Title cater to the realtor and clients who are looking for a top-flight closing experience. Jacob Title uses the latest and best technologies to ensure a safe and secure exchange of funds, and they pride themselves on great communication well before and during the real estate closing process. Jacob Title in Huntsville and Madison, and online at jacobtitle.com.
Brooks & Collier has always been about making the most of your outdoors. Our lush greenhouse and new furniture ideas will inspire you, but we're also about value. Our brands are so handsome, they'll make themselves comfortable inside or out, and so well made, they'll weather the weather for many years to come. Our staff can consult you on the right choices, and Lucy for sure can show us the sofa that's the most comfortable. Make the most of your outdoors. Meridian Street and at brooksandcollier.com.
This segment of Talkin Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama. Located online at universitykia.com.
Welcome back, 7:49 on this Monday morning. And the good, the bad, the ugly from over the weekend. It is your SEC, your Auburn, your Alabama report. And we had got a lot to get to. As fact, here is little Brian Harsin after the Tigers, a 62-0 winner over Alabama State on Saturday.
Well, good win for our guys. I told them that every week you get a chance to go out there and play, and it was good to see these guys finish the game. About the second half, we came out and did what we wanted to do. We made the adjustments, and we executed those in the second half. Early on, just a little bit sluggish there in some areas, and we responded. But overall, it was good. We scored on offense, scored on defense, scored on special teams, so we made big plays in all three phases. And we had some individual performances that were very good today. But overall, just one thing I'd say with Alabama State, I know the score doesn't necessarily show this, but I thought they did a very good job in their game planning. I thought they had guys that played hard, and they did some things we had to make adjustments to. So they had a good game plan early on for us. We made the adjustments. Guys came out there, executed it. So our staff, players, that was a credit to them. It was good to see our halftime adjustment actually show up there in the second half. And we had a big third quarter. But overall, probably the biggest thing that stands out from a negative standpoint, just the penalties. I think we had 10 penalties, so we need to clean that up.
And they'll need to clean that up as they travel to Happy Valley this week for that much-anticipated showdown with Penn State. And it is going to be a rather big showdown. Auburn and Penn State both coming in at the polls this week. Penn State checks in, I believe, at number 10 in the latest AP poll. Auburn checks in at number 22. So it's a pair of ranked teams once again meeting on a Saturday there in Happy Valley.
And so, yeah, it's going to be really the first test for Auburn. I mean, they were supposed to do the first 2 weeks, and they took care of
They started
business.
off slow, too, against Alabama State.
They did.
They weren't as sharp as what...
They weren't as sharp
No.
offensively and defensively. It was kind of like Alabama with Mercer. It's tough because you're not playing as high-quality an opponent. But like Coach Harsin said, by the second half, they asserted themselves. Jarquez Hunter, once again, was very impressive. Had the 94-yard touchdown run, 2 straight 100-yard games for him. Bigsby also over 100. So Hunter's making a case and really has already supplanted Sean Shivers as the number 2 back. I mean, he's doing a great job. Bo Nix wasn't nearly as efficient as he was the week before. He was only 9 of 17 for a little over 100 yards, but they didn't need a ton out of the passing game, didn't show a lot. So they're going to need all of it coming up on Saturday in Happy Valley because Penn State's an outstanding football team, off to a nice start. They handled Bowling Green, pretty easily, and they got a nice win over Wisconsin, which is a slugfest. So they'll certainly be by far and away the best defense that Auburn's seen. So that's what's going to be fascinating to see how Auburn attacks Penn State because, certainly Penn State had to show quite a bit to win the Wisconsin game. Didn't show a lot this week, though. Auburn, I'm going to be interested to see what they haven't shown in the wrinkles offensively and defensively because they really didn't have to. They could be vanilla the first 2 weeks, but that won't be the case, for this whiteout at Penn State, and game day's going there. So it'll be an outstanding showcase for both those programs.
All right, let's get out to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Randy with us on a Monday. Good morning, Randy.
Good morning, fellas. How y'all?
Good, Randy. Good to hear from you. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Drew. Drew, I guess I was wrong about Florida State, man. They didn't
pretty much the rest of the country.
Nobody saw it coming. I mean, we're so happy for Jacksonville State, but I'll be the first to tell you I had no idea this was coming and that Florida State would take so many steps back and lose that game. But it's a total credit to Jacksonville State.
Notre Dame didn't look that good neither, did they?
No, Notre Dame played
and
with
now you have to
hangover.
question them as well. Yeah, you have to kind of question the legitimacy of Notre Dame as a contender.
What about that Oregon team that beat Ohio? They look pretty good.
I tell you what, man.
That was a huge win for Mario Cristobal, especially when you think about 2 of his best defensive players, including Kevon Thibodeau, who may be the first pick in the draft.
Yeah, Thibodeau was out.
He was out, and so was Justin Flo, one of their middle linebackers, and yet they still win the game. And then it's about what we thought. After we saw Ohio State struggle the first week, Ohio State is not a well-coached defensive team. They're not very good on that side of the ball.
Go back to the national championship game.
Yeah.
They defensively, Alabama gashed them, well, just like Alabama did to a lot of teams, though.
Yeah.
But the trend, I mean, it's the same way with Clemson. Clemson in big games, the last 4 or 5 big games offensively, has not looked good. Ohio State in the last 3 or 4 big-time games defensively has not looked good at all, and it's a trend. After one game, you sit there and say, okay, but 2, 3 games, that becomes a trend.
Yep.
Hey, if Florida ain't, hey, Florida, they may wake Alabama up too, They didn't look
well, I mean,
bad.
Alabama needs to be ready to play. There's no doubt. It's going to be Alabama's best opponent, I think, easily. I think Florida's a better football team than Miami. I think Miami had a hangover again and almost let Alabama beat them twice against Appalachian, who's a solid football team, by the way, who soundly beat East Carolina in their first game. But certainly, I think if you're Alabama, you've got to be ready to play against Florida. They've got a true 2-quarterback system. I mean, some think it may be a controversy with Richardson, but I think it's a true 2-quarterback system. But you also want to find out how that hamstring is for Richardson as well. He pulled it on that 80-yard touchdown run. Is he going to be available for Florida? Just like people are wondering if Will Anderson is going to be available for the Tide.
If it's an SEC game. If you're not ready to play, if you don't have everything crossed and then that shoe tightened just a little bit tighter, then you don't need to be playing.
Mm-hmm.
See, it makes it a little tougher being in Gainesville, too.
Yeah, it's definitely a true road test. It's a tough environment.
couple more things, and I'll get off here, Drew.
Sure.
Auburn ain't woke up. They pitching to get woke up.
Oh, Auburn!
Yeah.
Auburn
I mean,
knows
that trip to Happy Valley is tough.
They
that's been
know
circled.
that what they've got ahead of them. There's no doubt about it. They know they're going to have to step up.
It's a night game.
What I was going to ask you, that quarterback from Georgia played. He's pretty good, ain't he?
Stetson Bennett, yeah, I mean he played well against UAB, no doubt in the place of JT Daniels, who has the abdominal injury.
So why did Kirby change quarterback?
Because JT Daniels is injured. Yeah, he played against Alabama and did not play well last year, and eventually lost the job. But JT Daniels was not in the lineup because he was injured, Randy.
And we saw Stetson Bennett do this last year against mediocre teams,
Right.
have great games, but when
it's easy to make throws when guys are 10 yards behind the defense.
Yes. Well, ask Joe Milton that, but that does not. Well, that's another topic that we're going to get to at the top of the hour. Tennessee's Joe Milton couldn't find the ocean if he was standing next to it on Saturday, and Vols fans were a little anxious. We'll go over all of that. Randy, thanks for the phone call.
Thank you,
Hour
Randy.
2 going to start after we take this quick timeout.
The kitchen is the heart of any home. It's where the family gathers. It's where kids discover old recipes and make them their own. Just starting out or just now getting started on the dream kitchen you've always wanted?
I'm Chris Haygood, and from all of us here at Bob Wallace Appliance to the home builders and the homeowners, a heartfelt thank you for buying local. We're in Huntsville, Florence, and Coleman, and online at bobwallaceappliance.com.
Hey folks, this is Arthur Seaton, managing partner of University Kia, here letting you know we are proud supporters of Madison Academy football. And a quick shout out to my son, Avery Seaton, number 19. Stop into University Kia today and shop our large selection of new Kias, including our all-new Telluride 8-passenger SUV, the stylish new K5, and the sporty new Seltos. Visit universitykia.com to view all our great offers and get pre-approved in minutes so you can drive home your new Kia today, because we want to see you in the Kia. Go Mustangs!
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Good morning from the traffic center. Got 2 new wrecks now. Both of them reported as possible injuries. Moores Mill and Chase, and Oakwood and Pulaski Pike. Watch out around both those areas. Everything else looks pretty good this morning. Just some areas of fog to deal with. That's going to affect you if you got a long trip in. Routine care to heart failure. Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialists have the expertise to care for all matters of the heart. Do you know who to call when you need a heart doctor? You could write this down right now. Dr. Randall Burns at Huntsville Heart Specialist. Captain Nick in the North Parkway Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
From the WZDX Pinpoint Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Emily Owen. For this Monday, expect a partly cloudy sky. High temperatures will be topping out in the mid to upper 80s for the afternoon. A few of us could catch a few isolated showers. Otherwise, we'll be remaining dry. For your Monday night, expect a partly cloudy sky. Low temperatures falling into the upper 60s. I'm meteorologist Emily Owen on your home for ESPN Radio 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Simple Green is perfect for making your auto, RV, cycling, boating, and other sporting equipment look like new. Visit them at simplegreen.com.
Monday Night Football tonight, the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. The Ravens favored by 3.5 points. Baltimore minus 180 on the money line. Las Vegas plus 160 with an over-under of 50.5. The Atlanta Falcons taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Sunday. Bucks favored by 13 points. Atlanta plus 550. Tampa Bay minus 710 with an over-under of 52.5. Tennessee Titans facing Seattle. Seahawks favored by 6. Tennessee plus 210 on the money line. Seattle minus 250. Over under 52.5. For vsin.com, I'm Tony Desiri, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Log on today, 977ESPN.com. Welcome to Talkin Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
Welcome into hour number 2 of Talking Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone, live from Bill Penny Toyota here in the service department, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and then on Saturday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Get on out here, get your car serviced, or register for a chance to win $5,000 via the test drive when you visit the showroom. You can get yourself a brand new Toyota, get yourself serviced, get everything taken care of out here at Bill Penny Toyota, largest Toyota dealer, largest volume Toyota dealer in the state of Alabama. And while you're here, make sure you stop by and register for your chance to win a lunch bunch for 6 with Bob at Bob Baumhauer's Victory Grill along the Parkway. Once you put your name in the box, then you're entered to win Bob's tickets to the LSU game, the Alabama LSU game that is coming up here a little bit later in the season. So make sure you stop on by, put your name in the box for your chance to win a lunch bunch for 6. We'll feed you at Baumhauer's Victory Grill along the Parkway. All right, before we get back out to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline, other stuff from the weekend. Tennessee drops a tough one to Pittsburgh at home. Inside Neyland Stadium, 41-34.
Yeah.
But if you're Tennessee and you're the Vols fans, you're stomping mad today because Joe Milton had plenty of chances to put this team into the end zone. Yes, short yardage plays, he can find a receiver, great. When he has a wide open receiver 20 yards down the field who's 6 yards open, he overthrows him consistently. And it has got to be frustrating for Vols fans to watch that over and over again.
Well, and Hendon Hooker came in and played well, so he gave them a chance to win the game. Was able to complete some passes and throws and make some plays with his feet. So we still haven't seen Harrison Bailey, who was really the star of the spring game, even more so than Hooker. But I find that interesting. But see, Bailey doesn't give them the dual threat capability of the other two, and I think that has a lot to do with it. But Hooker, played well enough to get the start. I think next week, Joe Milton was injured and missed the rest of the game, but was still on the sidelines cheering on his teammates. But yes, the deep ball has just been an abomination so far. I mean, the scheme's working; they're getting guys wide open.
Yes,
but Joe Milton cannot hit the throws consistently, and to me, I'm sorry. Eventually, you lose your job when you can't make the plays his arm is plenty strong enough, but his accuracy is just not there. And you're seeing some of the same issues he had at Michigan, and that's why he lost the job there. So sometimes you can have a change of scenery, but the same issues still exist. And so I think Hendon Hooker has earned the opportunity to start for Tennessee going forward. We'll see how he plays. If he hits some struggles, they might go to Harrison Bailey. We'll see. But then another quarterback injury that happened on Saturday, Scott, and it was early. I mean, he was only 1 of 2, and the game had just started in the first quarter. A significant foot injury for Haynes King at Texas A&M. We don't know yet how long he'll be out, but it looks like it'll be for a while. And Zach Calzada had to play for the majority of the rest of the game. And it was hit and miss with him. Now he's got
the offense was struggling even before Haynes King went out.
Right,
but
that was early in the game, and they didn't have a chance really to get traction. But then when Calzada had to come in cold like that, he was 18 of 38, I think, for 183 yards. So he struggled a little bit as a young quarterback. There's no questioning his arm either. He has an absolute cannon. We've talked to Brent Zwerneman about that, and of course Olin Buchanan. But A&M struggled the rest of that game and was very fortunate to survive and get a late touchdown and win 10-7. Their defense stood up because one more score in Colorado might have pulled out that game, which would have been huge for Carl Durrell. But Texas A&M found a way to win. Obviously, their defense is the real McCoy, but they're going to have to improve offensively with what we saw on Saturday, and that's going to be up to Jimbo Fisher now because Haynes King's going to be out. So you're going to have to see, we're going to have to see now if once Zach Calzada has a whole week of practice and they rep the offense, what it looks like going forward.
I tell you what, all around college football, you look at these teams that you ranked inside the top 10 the start of the year and everything, and we talked a lot about the inexperience at quarterback coming back this year for a lot of these teams. We're seeing some of that kind of come to surface from a lot of these teams. Ohio State, Ohio State struggled in week 1. They struggled, their quarterback struggled again against Oregon, throwing the deep ball, struggling to at times they look great offensively, and at times they struggle. Oklahoma, Spencer Rattler, Heisman favorite. He struggled in week 1, getting it back a little bit this past week, but again, struggling. You look at a lot of these top teams in the country, and right now, yes, Alabama looked good against Miami, struggled maybe just a little bit against Mercer, and we're nitpicking when we say struggle there against Mercer. But right now, I think you can put 5 or 6 teams, maybe 7 or 8 teams in a hat right now and say these are the best teams in college football. It looks pretty even right now after 2 weeks.
Well, it does. I mean, and again, it's one of those things where you have a lot of overreaction early, and then you have to kind of settle in. Again, Zach Calzada may be a lot better. Mac Jones certainly was, and when he had a chance to prepare all week as a starting quarterback, because that's just something that all of a sudden it's in the middle of a game, it's chaotic, but still, I was still surprised that it took until the fourth quarter for A&M to score an offensive touchdown. But you got to also remember they're breaking in 4 new starters on the offensive line, so they're probably still trying to come together. That running game's got to get a little bit better. And they're going to have to lean on it with a young quarterback now. And of course, Haynes King was young, but Calzada is a different style. He's not as mobile. He's got the huge arm, so it may change some things schematically as to what they're doing. And then with Tennessee, not so much with Hendon Hooker. I think he has a lot of the same skill sets as Joe Milton. Probably not as strong an arm, Scott, but what have I always told you? The arm strength can be so overrated if you can't throw it accurately. And so I thought Tennessee's passing game looked better, and and they needed to Hendon Hooker to spark them, or Pitt likely would have blown them out, even though Tennessee blocked the punt early and got that lead. Pitt and I liked Pitt in the game just because of Kenny Pickett. You go with a quarterback to me when you're going into these matchups. Who has the best QB? And Kenny Pickett had 36 starts under his belt. He played like a senior. He played like an experienced guy. And Pitt was able to win a high-scoring game because I think we all understand Tennessee has defensive deficiencies and is lacking some talent on that side of the ball. And so it's going to be interesting to see where they go going forward.
All right, let's get out to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Ryan with us, holding first. Good morning, Ryan.
Hey, guys. Hey, just a couple of quick notes this morning. So I tried looking on the latest status for Will Anderson on Twitter this morning, and I guess the most relevant info that I can find, the latest, was subtle saying not serious. What are you guys seeing, if anything, what the absolute latest is in Will Anderson?
It's like I said in the first hour of the show, Ryan, I'm hearing it's a knee hyperextension. It's not considered serious. I think everything looks promising with the work they've done early in the week and what they did on Sunday. We're going to have to see, by Wednesday how he's feeling. But I think, I was hearing that he was moving around pretty well yesterday, but we'll see. You never know. We're going to have to let it play out. But as of early in the week, if he doesn't have another setback in practice and whatnot, no one ever knows. And certainly he's going to have rehab by Jeff Allen and their outstanding medical team. But I think the chances of him playing are pretty decent to very good as of right now. There was no structural damage. They were very fortunate. It was just a hyperextension. So I think if Will continues to progress this week, I think he can play.
Yeah, I saw in some of these slow-mo angled replays about the player that did that move against him, and I've come to find out, I actually educated myself on this play called a cut block.
Right.
It's very unethical. Like, how in the world is that, like, not treated like, people in the MMA world say oblique kicks to the knee should be outlawed and banned because they can be career-ending. That kind of move against Will seemed, by that running back, seemed like it had no ethical or, you know what I'm trying to say. It just looked like the most cheap, dirty, disgusting play that it had no place in. Like, what is the legitimate defense of what that guy did to Will, do you think?
Ryan, it's one of the aspects of college football that they're trying to clean up, but there's no enforceable thing to clean it up. It's one of these plays where it is legal.
It is.
It is legal in college football. It is not something that you want to see done in college football.
A lot of coaches and players don't like it. Yep.
Yes, but it is one of those legal plays that you really can't do much about when it's ran. So it's kind of like, you want to sit there and you look at it and you say, oh my gosh, that the guy needs to be thrown out. It's an awful play. It is, but it's a legal play as well.
Yeah, and they teach you techniques to, basically use your hands and knock the defender down and not let him get at your knees. But it's like Scott said, it's a legal play, but it's still, a lot of people think it's dirty football and they don't like cut blocking and it should be outlawed. And to me, they protect the knees of the quarterbacks in the NFL. And they're going toward every level of football to protect your head, but I think your knees should be protected also. Now, there are certain situations. Mac Jones was fortunate yesterday because they called a personal foul penalty on a defender from Miami who was kind of blocked into him and went low. To me, that's something that you can't help. I think that should be, you should have to kind of evaluate those. But I also will say this, if you're cut blocking, you don't have to hit right at the knee. You can hit in the thigh and things of that nature, but I thought it was dirty because the guy went directly at Will's knee. You know what I'm saying? And I just don't agree with that. I think it should be outlawed. I think just like targeting at the head, they ought to outlaw that anything at the knees, because the knee and the head are the two areas where you can suffer the worst injuries, and a knee injury can be, career ending, and so career ending. So I just don't like cut blocking. I think it should be taken out of football.
Hey, and then lastly, real quick, God forbid Bryce Young ever got hurt. I mean, look at that first play that Paul Theisen threw. Sure, we all want him to succeed, but it's like his ball went straight to the ground. Did that surprise you guys a little, like how inaccurate that first throw was by him?
Well, yeah, I mean, he struggled throughout. I mean, he did hit a deep ball, but it was basically a duck that hung up there that JoJo Earl made a great play on. His other throws were not good. He only got one series, and then we saw Jalen Milroe, who is an outstanding athlete. You can tell it with his mobility, but he's got a long, long way to go as a passer. So certainly, no doubt, Ryan, they've got to keep Bryce Young healthy. And we appreciate the phone call. We got some full lines right now. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Stay on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Brandon with us on this Monday from Bill Penny Toyota. Good morning, Brandon.
How are you, Brandon?
I'm great. I got to see an exciting weekend of football and want to jump into my good. My good is the Navy Dress Blue Marine Corps uniforms. Those suckers were absolutely beautiful, and whoever came up with those uniforms and designed them, they need to start a GoFundMe page for them. So
yeah, they were great.
I saw that. I said they were fantastic. And does anybody know if Calhoun County, Alabama, has been drained dry? Has JSU drained it? Because I was looking in the sky last night to see if there was an Anheuser-Busch Batman sign, if they were calling in reinforcements, because this is the second time they've done this. It would be different.
Yeah, it is.
First time. I mean, it was, 10 or 11 years ago when they beat Ole Miss?
It was, 11 years ago. It's hard to believe it's already been 11, but that's what it was, yes.
I mean, this ain't no
over 11 years ago.
Screw up. They're doing this right. I mean, there's a few games I remember watching, and that's one of them. I remember when North Dakota State beat Iowa State. I remember that one. I remember when Louisiana Monroe beat Alabama, and I remember both of those Jack State games. And I had friends.
Yep, I remember. You can throw in Michigan and App State at that time too.
Yeah, Appalachian. Yeah, no
Appalachian
doubt.
State, because they were 1AA when they beat Michigan,
and that was 07.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a friend that was there 11 years ago in college that said the party lasted till Thursday of next week, and they finally had to rein everybody into going back to class. So I don't know if it's going to wear on like that this week. But that's my good. The bad for me is what happened to my Rome Wolves here on Friday night. Travis Hunter, Florida State commit, come in here and made us look stupid. I'm talking about couldn't get a hand on that guy. He is every bit of what they say he is and more. I cannot understand why he's going to Florida State. Made that comment to a guy from 24/7. He told me, he said, well, somebody at Florida State had enough juice to get his dad out of prison. He said, so you go figure. I don't know if that's true, but that's what he said to me. And the ugly has got to be Florida State. I just don't know how your coach goes out there and admits to a coaching blunder on defense on TV like that. I mean, do you think that's as bad or worse as Ed Ogeron's comments about not even interviewing people and saying, well, hell, he's my fourth choice, but so was I.
Yeah, I think Ed Orgeron admitting that he didn't interview coaches is probably worse than a defensive blunder.
Yeah, I mean,
you are the CEO of a program, quote unquote, and you admit that you didn't act like a CEO. That's worse.
Yeah, but you almost expect that from Eddie O, so you don't. I guess my diminished thought about him, but I would expect that, so I guess I wouldn't say it. But that is do you recover from that after all the goodwill you had last week? You were so high, and everybody was talking about how much you were taking away even from a loss to where you are now.
Yep.
Does it get better for them this season?
Who knows? The ACC is so weak right now, they may get better because the ACC as a conference as a whole is not very good. So we'll have to see. All right, Brandon, hate to do it to you, but we got to move on, buddy.
Appreciate it, man.
Hey,
all right.
Y'all have a roll tide, and that Iowa State was great.
Yes, it was.
We haven't mentioned that. We haven't had a chance to mention it.
We'll get to it, though. Spencer's with us this morning. Good morning, Spencer.
Morning, Spencer.
Morning, Drew. Drew, I see you on Facebook. Are you donning the Jalen Hurts jersey today?
Do what now?
Drew, are you
He's talking about your jersey.
Jalen Hurts? You donning a Jalen Hurts jersey today?
No. I'm donning a Miami Dolphins Tua Tagovailoa jersey.
Oh, okay. Well, Jalen looked a little bit better than Tua did yesterday, in my opinion. You think so?
Yeah, he looked good. He beat the worst team in football, but he looked good.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Oh,
well, hey,
come
man,
on. Atlanta's the worst team in football?
I think they are after week one, and I've been a Falcons fan, but they looked horrible. I mean, are you kidding me? Oh, my God. Because I don't think the Eagles are going to be very good, but Jalen played great for the first week, but I just think, I don't think the Falcons are very good at all. I mean, the Titans look bad, but the Falcons look really bad. I'm talking about first pick in the draft bad.
Yeah, they did look pretty bad, but I just think Jalen looked good. We're going to go with that.
He did look good.
Good yesterday. That touchdown to Devontae was pretty sweet.
It was.
But, so Arkansas getting a big win on Saturday, man, that's incredible. Welcome to the SEC, Texas.
Yeah, they got a ways to
Look
go.
forward to more losses by the Texas Longhorns. That's nice to see. And hey, you were talking about Texas A&M and this Calzada kid earlier, man. I watched that game on Saturday, and he never had a pocket to throw out of.
Their O-line was struggling, dude.
That Calzada kid is a good quarterback. That Texas A&M O-line was garbage. That boy was running for his life all day long.
Mm-hmm. They're replacing 4 starters. That's what we were saying earlier, Spencer. Up front, I think that they kind of got exposed a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm a little worried about next week with Florida, man. That dual quarterback system looks pretty good down there at Florida.
It does. They're both good athletes. I don't know really how good their passing game is. They've played 2 inferior opponents, but certainly Jacob Copeland is a guy that Alabama is going to have to do a good job on, though. He's averaging about 30 yards a catch, and he's someone that Alabama recruited and they're very familiar with.
Yeah, well, they're not going to get 350, 400 yards of offense against us. I wouldn't imagine that. That's what they're averaging right now. I wouldn't imagine they're going to get that much. But, I mean,
right.
You know, we've always said that. Alabama's always struggled against either a dual threat or a running-type quarterback. And, you know, I mean, hey, I'm worried about next weekend. Hell. But my ugly, man. I don't know, man. I'm not even gonna get into that, man, because I saw a lot of good football this weekend. So I don't want to devalue football and say anything was ugly. But guys, thanks for having me on.
Oh, there was some ugly. How about the USC fans leaving with like 5 minutes left to go in their game against Stanford?
Twitter was ugly if you're talking about for Clay Helton.
I mean that place, we're talking the Coliseum completely empty. I mean, there may have been 100 fans left in that there. And then the USC kicker getting ejected for targeting. Did you see that one?
Yeah, that was at the beginning of the game. Yeah,
that was ugly there as well. All right. What was not ugly was Mike Paris's call from Tallahassee on Saturday,
and we'll have it again for you when we come back from break.
When we come back, Mike Paris will join the show as the Jacksonville Gamecocks get the win over Florida State. Easy for me to say, it was easy for him to call it. We'll let him talk about it when he returns.
You're listening to Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Guys, when we were 20, we never had to worry about spontaneity. And now that we've gotten older, spontaneity has been replaced with pills and injections. We're just trying to keep that intimacy, but it's taken away from spontaneity. At Advanced Life Clinic, we now offer GainsWave, which uses sound waves to non-invasively treat this issue with no need for pills or injections. Just give us a call, 256-888-9367, or check us out online, advancedlifeclinic.com.
We're planning a trip to Spain later this year.
But our Spanish
is pretty bad.
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind. Babbel's conversation-based method teaches you real-life words and phrases. And with Babbel's interactive, bite-sized lessons, you'll remember what you learned.
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿De dónde eres?
¿De dónde eres?
No matter your learning style or experience level, Babbel has lessons designed for you that will get you speaking quickly and confidently.
I tried learning Spanish before, but I couldn't stick with it until I found Babbel.
There's no easier way to learn another language.
Ahora hablamos español.
He just said, now we speak Spanish.
I can't wait to use our new language skills on our upcoming adventures.
Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. Just go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
I'm attorney Gary Lackey. You know, you'll hear people say we're like a family, but here at the Lackey Law Firm, that's really true, not just a saying.
I'm Justin Lackey. With my father and my sister, we have a special connection to each other.
I'm Jennifer Lackey. At the Lackey Law Firm, when we take on your case, you become part of our family. You really do.
And we'll always do whatever it takes to get everything you deserve.
If you're injured, you worry about getting well, not about paperwork or insurance companies or figuring out how to get to your lawyer's office. I'll come to you.
We worry about your case so you don't have to.
When you've been injured, we know that your case is probably the biggest thing going on in your life. More important than almost anything else.
And it's important to us too, for one simple reason. Family takes care of each other, and at the Lackey Law Firm, we'll take care of you.
The Lackey Law Firm. The Lackey Law Family. 1-800-4RIGHTS.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
McCurry Motors is your car and van rental headquarters. You can rent the vehicle you need today. Family in town, sporting event, church function, no matter what your need, McCurry Motors has you covered with a wide selection of cars and vans available for rent. They have 12-passenger Mercedes Sprinter vans, 12-passenger Ford Transit vans, 15-passenger Ford Transit vans, and 15-passenger Chevrolet Express vans. They have 2 locations, Highway 72 in Athens or Max Luther Drive in Huntsville.
If you're ready to lower your utility bills, it's time to call Eagle Insulation. Eagle can handle it all. Attic re-insulation, insulation removal, wall insulation, and new construction insulation, commercial and residential. Our primary goal is to save you money, and lots of it. Typical clients realize their return on investment within 3 to 6 months. That means the re-insulation actually pays for itself and then some. See if we can help you. Contact Eagle Insulation today, 256-755-1556, or log on insulatewitheagle.com.
At Mr. Sparky, we're America's on-time electrician. The electrical panel is the heart of your home's electrical system. Malfunctions can lead to hazards like fire or power outages, leaving your home at risk or in the dark altogether. Fixing it quickly will help keep you and your family safe. So trust our team of electrical experts at Mr. Sparky to get it done right and get it done safely.
You don't have to put up with any malarkey. Call 888-8-SPARKY.
Independently owned and operated, licensed in the respective state or county.
Good morning from the traffic center. Got 2 new wrecks now, both of them reported as possible injuries. Moores Mill and Chase, and Oakwood and Pulaski Pike. Watch out around both those areas. Everything else looks pretty good this morning. Just some areas of fog to deal with. That's going to affect you if you got a long trip in. Routine care to heart failure. Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialists have the expertise to care for all matters of the heart. Do you know who to call when you need a heart doctor? You could write this down right now. Dr. Randall Burns at Huntsville Heart Specialist. Captain Nick in the North Parkway Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
Football season is here.
45, nobody's gonna catch him. No shot, touchdown, 68 yards, no shot, Marino.
97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Coming up next, it's the Tom Abraham Show with me, Tom Abraham. Now back to more Talkin' Ball with Scott and Drew.
Welcome back to Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone, coming to you live from Bill Penny Toyota out here in the service department, open Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. That's Saturday. 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, they are open, 256-837-1111 to get your car in here at the Bill Penny Service Department. Get it in here, get it serviced. Let the fine folks here take care of your vehicle. All right, before we get to Mike Paris and talking Jacksonville State and their win over Florida State, we do need to talk some high school football as well, as it is time for us to crown this week's 97.7 ESPN The Zone Bryant Bank Team of the Week.
Each week, they lace it up. Each week, we'll present our Team of the Week.
Get it in here, I got one thing to say.
So it's time for the Bryant Bank Team of the Week presentation.
And Friday night over at Madison City School Stadium, they probably just turned the lights off because this one went long. This one was long enough to be a college football game on a Friday night.
Man.
Bob Jones taking on Huntsville, and we were doing the North Alabama High School Football Scoreboard Show, and we were sitting in there, and we were looking at the results coming in. We were looking at the scores. We were looking at Twitter. We were looking at social media. And it was, I want to say 9 o'clock or a little after 9, and the halftime score came up, and someone turned to me and said, well, that can't be right because, I mean, half would have been over an hour ago. And I'm like, no, that one just went to half. And what was it, 41-32
42 to 31, Huntsville High at the half. It was the highest scoring half I've ever broadcasted, and it felt like the game was going to be played in the 70s. Now, it slowed down after Huntsville High's opening second half drive where they scored to go up 49 to 31. But unbelievably, the Bob Jones Patriots never quit. They came in 0-2. And we're looking for their first win of the year and, of course, to get on the board in 7A, Region 4. And they came back and won. Ray Hardy had an unbelievable game at quarterback, running the football, making some throws, and they came back with 45.7 seconds to score a touchdown, hit a two-point conversion because they had all kind of issues in the kicking game throughout. But it was a gutty win for Bob Jones, 52 to 49, and they're going to be our Bryant Bank Team of the Week for that huge comeback against Huntsville. Highest scoring game I've I've ever broadcasted. But what a win for Bob Jones and what a comeback.
All right, so Bob Jones, our 97.7 ESPN The Zone Bryant Bank Team of the Week. Congratulations to them. We will have Coach White on the show later this week, and then we will head to Bob Jones for a special presentation later in the week. Patriots, we are coming your way. And we played this for you earlier in the show, but in case you missed it, here it is once again.
Looking down the field. He's got a man. Caught it. He's free. Phil Johnson at the 10, at the 5. Touchdown! 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 There are no flags. Touchdown pass on the final snap of the game. Jacksonville State has won it.
That gives you goosebumps, gives me goosebumps every time I hear it. Clearly the call of the year so far in college football.
It is, and we're great. It's great to have the man that made that call. I believe he's in his 39th year calling Jacksonville State athletics, but what a call. It was the play of the weekend in college football, the win of the weekend. The Jacksonville State Gamecocks, 11 years ago, or just a little over 11, they knock off the Ole Miss Rebels in Oxford in 2010, but this time they knock off the Florida State Seminoles, who had a great performance against Notre Dame and a loss the week before. But this is a huge win for Jacksonville State, and Mike Parris is now with us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Mike, great call, man. Great win for the Gamecocks. Is everybody come down yet?
I don't think so. I don't know. I'm tired, but I still got some adrenaline flowing. And I had he was a student, I guess a student athletic trainer came through here and now an educator. And he sends me a message yesterday. He said, why didn't you get a little bit more excited about that? You know, so every time I hear an experience, I'm thinking, calm down a little bit, you know, but spur of the moment, you just react and roll with it, man. So it's special night. And, I apologize. I think you tried to call me early. I've done 3 radio shows back to back within the last hour, man. So,
well, I'm just glad we got you back because we knew you were going to be popular.
And I've already been asked. I don't know if you're planning on asking this, but how does this compare? You mentioned Ole Miss. How does it compare? And this is just my opinion. I'm not sure everybody would agree with me, but this one is different and maybe means a little more in the fact that, and the Ole Miss fans, I'm sorry I'm not knocking them, but I think Florida State this year probably is better than that Ole Miss team in 2010. But also, and I know Florida State right now is not what they were, but you look over their tradition, look at tradition over the last 40 years, to go in there and beat them, to me, it's bigger than the Ole Miss game. And I've seen it, you know, some people, the national people, calling it a Hail Mary. It wasn't a Hail Mary. It was a play our offense
not at all.
ran. It was the play we ran, the previous play. We threw an incompletion, but it was open, so they came back to the play and just ran it to the opposite side of the field. So it's and something that gets lost in all this, well, a couple of things. And obviously you deal with sound bites, so, you know, you got to keep it within a reasonable amount of time, and you don't hear us talking about it. But if you see the video, Ahmad Edwards makes the biggest block of his lifetime, probably, and the biggest block he'll ever make. He's number 9, the wide receiver in the play.
Yes, sir.
And as soon as Phil Johnson makes the cut and starts toward the field, I'll call it, toward the end zone there as he cut back inside, I see the guy, their defender, the DB, and I thought, oh, no. And I'm thinking Titans and Rams in the Super Bowl when Kevin Dyson got tackled at the 1 or 2 yard line to end the game. And I'm thinking, Jacksonville State, we're going to be that close to beating Florida State, and then Edwards gets the block in there, and it's a touchdown. And the other thing is the last 2 possessions of the game, we're down 17-7. We held them on 4th and goal. We go 97 yards for a touchdown, and then hold them and get the ball back, and then the last touchdown drive, 83 yards. So in our last 2 possessions, 97 yards and 83 yards on the road at Florida State to win the game. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's so crazy. It is, Mike, and I said this too. I was watching the replay, and I was and then that's the first thing I did was look it up. I was like, who is number 9, Ahmad Edwards? Because I was like, he's never going to have to buy a drink ever again in Jacksonville, Alabama. That should be a painting. That is such a great hustle play because he didn't give up on the play, and to throw that block, that was as big as the throw and catch, in my opinion.
Well, Cooper dropped it right in there perfectly.
Yep.
And Phil Y'all Johnson, he's a transfer from Duke. He is as far as I know, he is the first ever Duke transfer to Jacksonville State. I can tell you that. And I didn't know anything about him until fall camp got started. But now he was an excellent return man. He was more noted as a return man at Duke. In fact, he took 2 kickoffs to the house in one game for them a couple of years ago. And his mom was in the stands Saturday night, first time she had ever seen him play in a college football game. How cool is that?
Oh, wow.
He gets the game-winning touchdown pass.
Well, Mike, you talk about how different this win is versus the one over Ole Miss because of Ole Miss and Florida State. But this Jacksonville State program since 2011 is completely different as well. They've kind of elevated themselves as well.
That is true. The conference titles we won in the OVC, and we've been in the playoffs, 6 out of the last 7 years, 7 out of 8 appearance in the national championship game. So you're correct; it is entirely different. I don't envy Greg Sykes. I'm afraid that we're going to lose these games. Nobody's going to play us anymore. We beat. I'll go back to 2009. We led Florida State. Bobby Bowden still coaching at the time. We were ahead of them 9-7 in the last minute of the game in 2009, and they scored a touchdown to take the lead. Kickoff. Ryan Pearlou was playing for us at that time, quarterback. He gets hit, fumbles. So they get a scoop and score, and we end up losing 19-9. They scored 13 points in the last 30-something seconds of the game to beat us then. We go to Ole Miss, and we win in 10. And then, to me, it's one of the biggest games, even though we didn't win it. We go to Auburn in 2015. They're number 6 in the country with a guy at quarterback that's being touted as a Heisman Trophy candidate. Now, it didn't turn out very good for them that year, but still, we go in and play them. And did everything but win the game on the scoreboard, and got beaten overtime down there that day. And then last year, we lead Florida State. We're down there in October. We're ahead in the third quarter in the game down there last year against them. And they rallied to beat us. And now we get the W this year in a game against the Power 5. So it's going to get harder to find games like this, I'm afraid, for us to play.
Yeah. There's no doubt about it, but I mean, it does mean everything to the program, and I know it showed a lot of resiliency by the football team because they played, I thought, a solid first half against UAB, but certainly didn't play as well as they wanted to in Montgomery in the second half and in that performance. But to be able to get back up and play against an opponent of that caliber at FSU and get the win, that says a lot about the kids and the coaching staff, Mike.
And I wholeheartedly agree. And even if we had not won the game, I thought we had taken a giant step with the way we had played. I thought our coach's great game plan against Florida State on both sides of the football. And I thought our kids played extremely hard, obviously. And we executed much better against them than we did against UAB, and taking nothing away from Bill Clark, his guys. They're much better than what it turned out for them, I think, in Athens on Saturday as well. That surprised me. I thought the UAB-Georgia game was going to be a whole lot tighter than what it turned out to be. But it was, our guys, again, just we did what we had to do. You go into those games, and you got to remember, they're FBS, so they've got 85 scholarships. We have 63 total. And at some point in time, usually in the game, that 22 scholarship difference, it will play a part in the outcome. You can see a difference, and it's not necessarily maybe with your starters, but as you go deeper on the depth charts, and the different guys play, that's where it takes a toll on you and takes effect, because their guys, as they go farther down, are going to be better than your guys as you go farther down because of that. So anyway, and in those games, then we had penalties. We had too many, and I think our coaches would tell you that, but we had no turnovers. And we didn't give up any big plays, any explosive plays to them on offense. They had one punt return, which helped them and set them up in pretty good field position. But other than that, we didn't give up anything special teams-wise as well. And you go into a game like that just wanting to compete and play, and hopefully you got a chance come the fourth quarter and a chance to win it. And that's what happened Saturday night.
Mike Paris, voice of the Jacksonville State Gamecocks, on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline this morning. Mike, take us inside the call, though. You saw it unfold. Just take us a little bit inside the call.
Well, I would tell you that as we get to the line of scrimmage, I was a little surprised, and Mike Norvell, the head coach, addressed this in the post game. But they weren't playing really a prevent. They didn't drop anybody back. There's 6 seconds left. We're at our own 41-yard line, and we've got to go. I'm going to enhance the video, and you can see him making eye contact. Phil Yaw Johnson, the wide receiver, Devon Phil Yaw Johnson, you can see him make eye contact with Edwards like, hey, get him, something like that, which he did. And when he cut back, as I told you earlier, I thought, hey, he's not going to make it. And then Edwards gets the block of the program in our history, I guess. I don't know. And then he scores. And you're in that moment, and, obviously, you just react. I mean, you can't plan on this. It's something that just happens. And fortunately, I've been blessed to have some of these situations, in my career, and not just football, but in other sports as well, basketball and baseball. We had Clay Whittemore's a young man from Coleman High School, played baseball for us, transferred here from Georgia, and 2-time player of the year in the OVC. His first year in our program, he gets in the bottom of the 9th inning, a game-winning hit against Stanford, a walk-off to win the OVC tournament for us and send us to an NCAA regional. So, you can't plan on it. You just got to react, and hopefully you don't screw it up, in the process of that when you do. So, I hope I answered your question, but yeah, I'm thinking you got to score here, and then I just see the play unfold, and as I go back and edit the call after the game because there were some national outlets that had requested, and clips of this and that. And here's, talk about what, a cool part of the story or how small the world is. I get an email. Well, the guy that's producing the broadcast for me, was a graduate of Jacksonville State. He's just finished up, graduated in the spring, and he's producing the broadcast. And he had done several radio shows in his time at our campus station. And he says, as we get to our first break in the postgame, hey, asked me if I remembered a young lady named Juliana Hill. Well, she had gone to school at Jacksonville State, did a show with him and another guy, and had been involved there at the campus radio station. She is the late-night Sports Center producer for ESPN. So I'm sending her the audio, emailing it to her. And I don't know if anybody, you may have seen it, but on Sports Center, when the overnight Sports Center, they've got a picture of her and talk about her yelling and screaming in the control room, when we scored the game-winning touchdown. And it's a Jacksonville State graduate that's a part of all this, at ESPN. So, and I don't know, within 10 minutes after the game was over, another young man who has produced some games in the past, I'm assuming he used TuneIn Radio or something. Somehow he had my audio, and he already had the video captured, so he takes my audio and puts it over the video of the last play of the game, and then it blows up on social media, within 15 minutes after the game's over. So it's crazy time, so to speak, with social media and everything, the world that we live in now. So, but it's been a whirlwind. I did a national radio interview yesterday morning driving back from Tallahassee, and I had just crossed from the Florida line into Georgia, and I lose cell service. I'm trying to get back in touch with them, I mean, I can hear them. They're playing the call. And boom, my service drops. It goes completely out. I lose the call. So I ended up getting back on with them and getting some time with them, and this is my third in a row this morning in the last hour or so, and I've got a couple more to do before lunchtime today. And I've had one radio station, they text me yesterday, hey, Friday night, they're wanting to do something Friday night on their high school scoreboard show. And I thought, you could have waited till later in the week, maybe, But anyway,
now they got to come back down and play against a big rival this week at home, Mike, against UNA.
And as I was telling one of the other shows that I was on, I think I'm right, Troy was always our biggest rival, and I think we've played Troy the most of anyone in the history of the program. But I think UNA is number 2. I believe they're number 2.
Yeah.
And it's good. I think it's great. We had a contract for 4 years to play home and home, and now starting next year, we're going to be in the league with them, so it will be an annual event. So I'm looking forward to it. Right now I would say our coaches, the biggest thing is probably our guys got to forget about Florida State, worry about playing an in-state